Are you ready to reclaim joy in your life? Why joy? Why now? Welcome to Joy Rules with me, Lorelei, your joy guru. While the world looks like it's at a breaking point, burnout, stress, isolation, and overwhelm dominate the headlines. Within all this, there's a longing for something deeper, something that heals beyond the mind. Joy fuels health, sparks expansive thought, aligns us spiritually, and connects us to one another. Join me as I weave astrology, intuition, and modern psychology to ignite your soul's highest alignment. Each week, I sit down with luminous guests who embody joy as a spiritual path, a creative force, and a way of life. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive into the joy. Because when joy rules, transformation becomes inevitable. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Joy Rules, the third episode of Joy Rules. But before I do anything, I am going to happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stephanie. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Welcome. What an honor it is to have you here on your birthday. I'm so thrilled you were able to do this, and we're going to get right into our thing in just a second. I got this guidance, when I decided I'm doing nothing on the Fridays of my show, but being in the energy, like just getting guided what to read and what not to read, whatever. And it so has served me, because one of the things that I got was I want to do like a 2 minute, and I'll do this every time now, state of the universe for all of you, because we're all in these energies together. We're always together, but so right now, the planet of communication, Mercury, the little guy with the giant reputation that we hear so much about, retrogrades are beautiful. It's just a question of adjusting your rhythm. So when Mercury is in retrograde, which it will be until the end of the month, until November 29th, early 30th, it's a time to regroup. It's a time to reevaluate, review. Um, what I love to say is, I'm Cancer rising, don't add anything to the plate of your life. Like, look at your life on a plate and go, oh, this piece, let me examine that. If you allow yourself to slow down, now, of course, this is coming at Thanksgiving, which is obviously perfect, because there will be all kinds of, my sense, family discussions of, oh, no, I remember it this way. I remember it that way. The beautiful healings occur, well, all the time, but during retrogrades, because we're more open. We're not as conditioned. Like, we're not as wedded to what we think that's the way I've always thought about it. So if there's anything in your life, and this is for all of you, whether you're watching, listening, who you forward this to, if there's anything in your life that you want to think about differently, I want a new thought in this area of my life because I do not feel joy. I don't feel happy. This feels like crap. I want a new thought. The reframe, that's one of my favorite gifts of Mercury in retrograde. It's like, intend that, because Mercury's in Sagittarius now, which is very much about the vision, and it's scattered because Sag is not, Mercury's not at home in Sag. Sag is the visionary. It doesn't care about the details. But on the 19th of November, until the end of the month, Mercury will retrograde back into Scorpio, which means we can all dig a little bit deeper, have those more vulnerable conversations that ferret out the stuff that needs to come up in order for there to be more emotional truth in the self and in others. So I wanted to say that. And then I wanted to say, we're in a last quarter moon now. So the moon in the sky is diminishing. That is the let go, cry, purge, plow under the crops, because we have a very powerful Scorpio new moon on November 20th. And so between now and then, this is an opportunity to let come up any of the old stuff and go, wow, I don't need that anymore. It's time to weed the garden. It's time to, so I wanted to say that as well. So that's my state of the universe. So, Stephanie, so I just want to say thank you so much to our mutual friend, Tammy Billups, who will be watching the replay because she has a client at 3 on Fridays, because she was the one who recommended that I reach out to you as I'm formulating this whole, my intention in my life is joy, and now I'm in this inquiry and this study. because of your journey and who you are and what you're standing for and the shifts that you've recently made in your life. So I reached out. We had our, what I'm calling for me, my the pre-connect, the connection call, my connection with my guest. So we're talking, and you said, what this is what's so beautiful for me, Stephanie. It's like I'm really looking at that connection call with my guest as what's going to guide the show. In other words, what the message. And so when you said, it was towards the end of our time together too, towards the end, you said, we talked about so many things, but you said, I have felt in my life up until recently that my joy bucket had holes in it. And then you mentioned Brene Brown's work, Foreboding Joy, her thing with Oprah. So I went down and I decided rabbit holes are beautiful, as opposed to, when we said we got lost. And in fact, let me say this for all of us now. We may all be going down rabbit holes of something that catches your interest that may not be on your schedule, but you find yourself, oh, that book just fell off the shelf. I got to open it up. And you get a message, but maybe it takes you off your schedule. So foreboding joy, again, essentially is we can be so in a joyful state, in bliss about whatever, and then we rehearse, as she says, tragedy. Like, oh my God, but what if my baby dies? Or what if, the money runs out, or, whatever it is. So then we went back and forth on the piece about gratitude, that gratitude is the antidote, for foreboding joy. And you said, so then we're going to dive in. You said, I've had a love-hate relationship with gratitude. So all of that to say, especially since this is your birthday, and the roses are actually, I was guided to that for you. For, if I were with you, I would be giving you roses. So yeah, and how you now, you shared with me right at the very end, your work is shifting in terms of what's driving the bus, right? So any of that you want to speak to, because we've already chatted about it, but what you.
Right. Yeah, well, to give context, I think is probably going to be the place to start. So this idea of my joy container having holes, that has been a lifelong experience. There's a point in childhood where I was happy and joyful, but for most of us, something happens, right? We have a wounding event and things shift and personality changes and coping mechanisms and all of that. And so there are a lot of other adjectives I would use to describe myself, but being the happy, perky, fun, sort of lighthearted, that has always been my growing edge. And several years ago, my soul turned me upside down. And the very short version of the story is that a man that I loved in college came back into my life, and saying yes to him represented saying yes to the greatest joy, happiness, love, contentment, bliss, pleasure that I've ever known. And so in in being who I had to be to say yes to that, to choose that, because there's a whole lot of other things that meant I was saying no to, everything that is not in alignment and has not been in alignment with who I had to be,
Mhm.
yes to that, has been getting flushed up to be healed, transmuted, dealt with, right? So all of these things that are not in alignment, all of these things that are scared to death to be happy, all of this patterning of foreboding joy, right? Like you get happy, excited about something, but for me, I could never maintain it. It was always, I've always been prone to melancholy, or um
I
I
think most
just
people are that way, though. But wouldn't you say, Stephanie? I mean, I think being able to maintain joy more often is probably the lesser of us than, So anyway, I just want to
Yeah,
say that.
I would say in our modern culture, with the expectations and all of the contortions that we tend to put ourselves into, especially when we're young, trying to be successful or please other people or do what we think we're supposed to do. I would probably agree with that. There's a lot of um, sort of dysfunction in how we relate to yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You and I have so many offshoots.
yes, yes. And so I have really been getting up close and personal and intimate with what joy is and what it means to me and what takes me out of it and what helps me stay in it. And so I'm still very much in this mystery school
Mm.
that joy is taking me through.
Oh, I
And
love that you refer to that as a mystery school. I love that you refer to joy as wow. Is that
yeah,
the first time you've said that, or is
it
that
is.
okay? Oh,
It is.
that's beautiful.
And one of my favorite definitions of the mystery that
Yeah,
I've,
tell me what a mystery school for the audience
well,
too. What is a
mis
mystery school?
word mystery, my favorite definition is the infinitely knowable.
Mm.
And
Ooh.
so, a mystery school is basically engaging with a particular energy or frequency or subject matter or archetype or whatever teaching. And it is constantly unfolding. There's always another layer. There's always more. It is the infinitely knowable. It is, we are never going to know it all.
Mm.
That's why it is a mystery. But it doesn't mean we don't get to know any of it ever.
I love you've just opened up a whole new door for me
Mm,
in terms of seeing joy as a mystery school. So another conversation, but that's just
yeah.
yeah, that's delightful.
And so when we were talking about gratitude and
Yes.
some of Brene's teachings talk about, she's never met someone who isn't joyful or doesn't know, isn't conscious of how to be happy and maintain that, that doesn't also have a gratitude practice. And
Yes.
so when I said I have a love-hate relationship with gratitude, what that means for me is it Uh, you and I talked about this, and it was so juicy
It was
that
the should. It was the should of
exactly it was the should, right? There's for me, the way my brain takes that in is you should be happy. You should be grateful for this. It becomes an authority figure waggling their finger at
yeah.
a little child. And what I've also come to understand is that a gratitude practice is valuable and it has its place. But, when you're in the middle of your emotions, when you've just been triggered, when you're disappointed, when you're upset, when you're feeling the feelings, and somebody comes along and says, well, you should be grateful, I want to punch him in the face because I'm not ready to hear that yet. I need to first acknowledge what I'm experiencing. And I think this applies to all of us. We need to be validated for what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And so what I would do is that should would just get wrapped up in all of my authority figure stuff.
And you have Capricorn energy in your chart, so that's
Right.
totally appropriate.
Yes, yes, Capricorn moon. And so
Right.
that, oh, you should be grateful and you should be this and you should be
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's the love-hate relationship because I would internalize that voice of,
Yes.
there's something wrong with me because
Yes.
I'm not grateful in this moment.
Yes. And in thinking of your Capricorn energy, I was just thinking that's the builder in you. That's the planner and the organizer that, that's the one that's able to get to the top of her mountain, the organizational part, the planner. But of course, you're also born with the planet of the dreamer and the visionary next to the sun. So yeah, I could see where. But isn't that interesting? Because you really got that it was your relationship to authority, like you were putting the authority on, right? Like
Yes.
we do with people. Well, just be grateful. Yeah, I think it's really feeling into where somebody is. Our minister said once in a talk, Richard, he's so wonderful, but it's so simple, but it's so cool. Say a friend calls and they need to share. Do you want to be heard? Do you want to be helped? Do you want to be hugged?
Mm,
That sort of gives the other person like a little responsibility for, well, what do you want right now from me? Do you just want me to, like you want to vent and be in victim because that's the first step of radical forgiveness is be the victim. I mean, like let it out and be witnessed in where we are as opposed to shutting someone down by saying, well, yeah, but just be grateful, right?
right, right. Yeah. And so, what I find is when I'm in joy or when I'm feeling that peace or that contentment, it is easier for me to access gratitude. And so I take advantage of those times to just be, to just say, stand outside with my face in the sun and say, thank you, sun, thank you for the warmth, thank you for all of the things that I can think of, because that helps, when I'm in a space where that is genuine, that helps build the practice within me so that I can access that more easily when I start to move off of center.
Yes. And since we talked, and this is so beautiful because I went back and played the little clip from Super Soul Sunday and another clip of Brene Brown talking about the connection for her between joy and gratitude. And she shared, and I wrote it down. Now I can't find it. Oh no, I got it. And she shared it on this little clip, and it's from a Jesuit priest. So get this. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. So there's another thing to wrap our head around. In other words, like being grateful before the joy. So, like when you just go out and go, oh, great, I'm grateful for the sun on my face and whatever, that gratitude does elicit joy, right? I mean, with the basking in the sun. So I just thought, how interesting is that that I would come across that quote like just about 45 minutes before you and I were going to be talking about this, that it's
Yeah.
not joy that makes us grateful, it's gratitude that makes us joyful. It's probably another show too.
Yeah, I am sure that that would be true. And another thing for me that's personal to me, and I know it's a little different for everybody based on their own composition, psychic composition and their experiences, but um, joy in some instances is also a choice for me. Like when I look at the
Totally.
movements of my mind and the place that's easy for me to go to, or the place that's challenging for me to go to, right? It's easy for me to go to disappointment or, foreboding joy or whatever, because that's been my pattern. And so for me, building a mindfulness practice to just check in with myself and go, okay, Steph, you can choose. You can choose in this moment to react this way, or you can choose to react this way. And so it's not a shaming. It's not a forcing or trying to make myself be something I'm not. It's just interrupting the patterns,
Yeah, the
interrupting
pattern
my
interrupt.
own
Yeah.
mental patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really a beautiful way to honor the Capricorn energy in you because it's really taking responsibility. I have like a big sign on my fridge that says choose joy because I'm real clear that it is a choice. And everything is a choice. I mean, even that breath between. So I'm curious, when you're working either one-on-one with people or in retreats or in all the various things that you do, share with me, and I didn't ask you this on our call, but it's coming to me now. What are the things that bring you the most joy in the work when you're doing your thing? I mean, you're doing your thing now, and I mean, you're always doing your thing. But when you think about when I'm in the most joy when I'm working with people or facilitating something, because you've just created something that, hey,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's several pieces to it. I love the creative process. So whether I'm actually making something with my hands or creating content, it is first and foremost a connection with spirit. It is that thing that we all strive for, that feeling of oneness and unity and flow, that there's no ending or beginning. It's just spirit moving through me in the creative process. So that is very enlivening for me. When I'm actually, with students or clients or, people that I'm serving, it is similar. It is that connection with spirit, that feeling that yes, I'm the one who's the coach or the teacher in that moment, but I'm also very aware that I'm not necessarily the wisest one or the one in charge, because I'm always calling, and let me call in spirit, let me call in their higher self, their soul, all of the guides and helpers. And so being in that state of flow and connection to be able to witness shifting in the other person, right? The
Yeah.
aha moment or the transformation or the healing or the releasing or whatever it is, that is such a privilege and an honor to be a part of.
I mean, it's a death and rebirth, is it not?
I
In
mean,
them.
it is. All of these little things are, yeah. I mean,
I mean, I'm
we
just thinking of you being Scorpio and having all this, Scorpio energy. I mean, the death and rebirth process is what you just described.
it is, yeah. And it shows up in our lives, minuscule, tiny little moments throughout the
Hmm.
day. And it shows up, in processes that can take a year or 2 or 3 years. Like there's all varieties and intensities of death and rebirth just from simply uh, our breath itself, right? The
I see.
inhalation and the exhalation is a in inspiration, if you
Yes,
think of it that
yes.
way, inspiring. Yeah, definitely a death and rebirth process.
So what is it that you've now, you've created something new now, correct?
Are you talking about the program that I just
Yeah.
launched? Yes, yes. It's interesting because it's new in that the timing was finally right for me to launch it, but it's something that I created or knew was going to be coming through me 5 years ago.
Ah,
And so I'll hold up my Oracle deck, empath activation cards. When I was creating the guidebook to go with the cards, my publisher asked me to, like most Oracle decks have the introductory part in the beginning. Here's how to use an Oracle deck, and here's some example spreads and all of that sort of stuff. So as I was
mhm.
creating these spreads, I got this download of a 10 card spread that was kind of like a mini ascension activation launch sequence.
Nice.
And so I knew at the time that that was going to become a mystery school. And so that is what I'm actually in progress with. Our first session was November 6th. And so
Ah,
that has been an amazing experience, also up leveling me into more joy, right?
yeah.
In
So what's the, like, what would be, if you're aware of it, what is the shift when you just said that, like in this versus like not all of a sudden, but you being aware that there's an uptick in,
yes. And this goes to the conversation we had about the motivational energies that animate my business. In the past, it was very much, you know, going into those deep places and heavy processing and intense emotions and, cathartic work. And I am I am complete with that approach. I'm not saying that those things are not useful. It's just I'm not the one being called to do those anymore. It's the platform of joy. I want to create from a place of joy and from a kind of raising the bottom sort of perspective. And so this mystery school is really an accelerated process of um, we're not focusing it from a place of what's wrong.
hmm.
It's, meeting us where we are and opening ourselves up to these ascension frequencies in our own personal journey.
Yes, beautiful. Well, but it is interesting because one of the things that in the Book of Joy with the Dalai Lama and the Desmond Tutu, they talk about, and I would say maybe this applies too, we can actually feel joy in suffering, not because we're suffering, but in the suffering itself. There can be a deep joy actually in that process somehow. So
Yeah,
I think,
I was going to say I actually have this written down because my one of my teachers said this recently, and I've heard him say it before, but I wanted to have it in my presence. And I think this is a similar sort of thing that is love available even here? Is divine presence available even here?
yes.
A
And I
question.
think that's what you've registered.
Hmm.
Because again, your Scorpio energy in the Scorpio house, that certainly could suggest all kinds of misuses of power, abuses of power, you going to the bottom to to be able to facilitate the work that you
Yes.
do.
And I don't need to go there anymore. And I so appreciate you saying it that way. Yeah.
Or you don't go there within the same way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because obviously the work that you do with as a shaman, I mean, it is about shifting paradigms, shifting energies. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, I will love to have you. We'll continue. You and I know, are going to be continuing. I have all kinds of conversations I want to have with you. No, but really, here you are on your birthday, which is a whole new beginning. So how can we got about a minute left here. How can I and our audience support you in your new year? What would you like us to hold for you?
Thank you for that. Just holding, I am actually going through a process of redoing my website and tweaking my offerings to come into this alignment that I have been talking about. And so there's still many things that I offer, which I imagine I will continue to offer. So if people just want to come to my mailing list or come to my website and look around. It's not like I'm going to do a wholesale, 180 and do something different 3 months from now. But I just appreciate your support of my book, The Evolutionary Empath, my Oracle cards, empath activation cards is what they're called.
How about supporting your joyful expansion in joy, love, ease, and grace?
Oh, love that. Yes, please.
Yeah. I mean, this is a really special time. And here you're, because this message will go to whoever watches and listens. And so that's just automatically going to raise the joy vibration in for all of us. We have 30 seconds left.
Hmm.
Anything you want to leave people with in 25 seconds, Stephanie?
Do
Besides the fact that every conversation is a soul celebration, is what I say.
True. This is a quote I found on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and I cut it out so I could have it in my space every day. And it says, what if it's not a ruined day? What if you just zoomed in on the wrong part? What if joy is still there, just slightly out of frame? Try a wide shot. You'll find joy off to the left, waving like a weirdo.
Oh, I'm so glad you did that. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Sierra. And for all of you, let's all join the joy. Thank you for listening to Joy Rules with me, Lorelei Robbins, your joy guru. If this episode sparked something in you, don't keep joy to yourself. Share and spread the light. Tune in the second and fourth Friday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on Transformation Talk, where together we reclaim joy as the foundation for transformation. To dive deeper, visit me at joyrules.com. And remember, joy isn't optional, it's essential. And visit joyrules.com for lots more joy. Until next time, keep choosing joy and join the joy revolution. And until we connect, I wish you blue skies, green lights, and lucky stars.